After the sins of my dad, we have to learn to live poorly. We lived in a black neighborhood, even though we didn't know what that means. We didn't even know what male and female meant back then. We were so young. Even though we wasn't prejudiced, the blacks was racist against us. And this is what happened when we went out for our walk back in the 70s. Get them, they're white! Not really understanding what was going on, we really had to learn fast that they didn't like white people. So we quickly run away in a panic. As they was trying to beat down the door, when we was all holding the door so they won't break it down, she was calling the cops. When the police was too scared to do anything about it by not even leaving their cars, we learned fast that they wasn't going to help us. After the police left, the blacks finally got tired and left. The next day, my brother went outside alone. I witnessed how they put my brother in the tricycle and rolled him down the steps with it. My brother got scared and hid in the bushes, and that's when they ganged up on him. I grabbed them to run home with them, and that's when they ganged up on the both of us. We fought back the best we could and still lost, but we managed to escape. And it was the first time my brother and I learned how to fight back in Freehold, New Jersey. Next, our family moved into this poor white neighborhood, thinking it would be much better. The apartment we lived in was in the front near the streets, and the playground was way in the back of the apartments. We was told we could play in it since we live at these apartments. As my brother and I went to play in the playground, we noticed it was all free for us. I didn't know why, and my brother didn't care. And while we was having fun, we noticed all the kids was looking at us through the apartments. And that's when we found out why they didn't come down to play. And that's when two bully guys came up and said, "What are you doing in our playground?" And I said, "We was told we were allowed to play here." And the bigger one said, "Where do you live?" And I said, "We live in the front of the apartments." He said, "Anybody that lives in front of the apartments cannot go in the back of the apartments to play in the playground." However, my brother kept on swinging on the swings. And the guy that's between mine and my brother's size, and he grabbed my brother's chain while he was going backwards and knocked the wind out of him, where he couldn't hardly breathe. Then I remembered my mother saying, "If there's any trouble, walk away from it." Howsoever, it did not work, because they grabbed us, and since we wasn't no strangers in fighting, we fought back. But the guy bigger than my brother beat him down, while the biggest guy beat me down. And they said, "Let that teach you a lesson so you'll never come back here again." And they was saying that while we was carrying each other back home. The next morning, my mom was like, "Why don't you two play in the playground again?" And we told her a short version of two guys kicking us out because they said we didn't belong there. She asked, "How big are these guys?" As soon as I said I'm bigger than one of them, then she said, "Then you could handle it. Or do you want me to talk to their parents?" And we said no, because we didn't know their parents were troublemakers. And when we went outside, it gave me an idea what she said. I said, "Jason, I got a plan." I said, "While you're fighting the big guy, I'll beat the other guy down, and I'll help you beat the other guy down." And we both thought it was a good plan. And when they noticed us, they said, "You didn't learn last time, so we're here to teach you another lesson." And my plan seemed to be working when I beat the other guy down. But as soon as I turned around, I noticed my brother was down. Even though we was weakened by the fight, I still tried to fight him anyways, and I went down. After coming home from fighting, we learned our cousins was going to spend the night because they're in the middle of moving. The next day, I gave them board games to play. After that, we played one of their games. Then one of them said, "We're getting bored. Isn't there a playground we could play in?" I said, "We don't want to go there." Then one of them said, "Why not?" Then I said, "We're tired of being beat." Then one of them said, "What do you mean by that?" Then we told them what happened. Then my oldest cousin came up with a plan, telling us to go out there first and they'll back us up later. As we went out there first, I was nervously thinking, how's our cousins gonna fight? They're girls. And hoping they didn't set us up to get beat up again. And the bullies came out second, saying, "Let's beat them again till they learn their lesson." Thinking, I don't like to fight, but I will fight if I have to. Then thankfully, my cousins came up next. And my oldest cousin said, "Do you got a problem with them?" And one of them said yes, and she said, "Then you got a problem with me." When they turned around and saying how big they was, they took off running. Then all of a sudden, all the kids came out to play like it should have been played with. The next morning, our cousins was telling us, "We almost finished moving and we're going to be leaving soon. So the plan is to do the same thing again, so this way they would think that we might be around the next time they try this again." And trusting our cousins, so we did do what they said. And when the other kids seen that we was out there, they all came out playing on the playground again. And when the bullies came out, they said, "Where's your cousins now to protect you all?" As soon as our our cousins heard that, they came up to the right side of the apartments from us. They took off saying, just checking. The next morning they said, this is our last day with you two. This time we're going to wait a little longer to come to the left side of you both. And so we did. And then the rest of them came out to play. And then the bullies, they stayed their distance while they was looking around. He said, where's your cousins now? Well, they quickly turned around and watched out for them. Not see them, they said, I guess your cousins finally left you both. They came out to the right side of us and said, guess again. And they was gone. The next day the bullies found out that my cousins were truly gone after they looked for a long time. The rest of the kids circle us, chanting fight. I told my brother to make it look good like the last plan we had. But that plan went up working the same way like it did before. The next day only half of them came out, and the others were looking out through their apartments. I told them the plan I told my brother, saying, why we must fight alone for you all to play in the playground, for we all could get together and gang up on those bullies. But they said, I don't want to get hurt, or go to the hospital, or even get punched. And then when we seen the bullies coming, we all left.